What's up, man?
What's going on, Adam? Thank you for joining me, brother.
Absolutely.
How we doing today, man?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just woke up to a bunch of snow outside, so was out plowing and doing a bunch of shoveling and stuff like that. So,
Hell yeah, man. Where are you at? Where's your location that you got so much snow?
I'm up in the Sierra Nevadas near the Nevada border by Tahoe area, like California. But just barely on the tip of the border, man. So basically Nevada.
Yeah, I mean, I bless the rains down in Africa when I'm out here and we actually get rain. I'm in Vegas and we never
Right.
see rain. So I'll actually go outside and just like watch it and be like, it's like a rain event. It's amazing. But people
Totally.
don't know how to
Totally.
drive in the rain out here. And I'm originally from Jersey, so I'm used to shoveling that snow. That's
Nice.
a hell of a workout, bro.
Oh, dude, it's crazy, man. I mean, I would say honestly, an hour of just shoveling, just constant shoveling, man, you start feeling it real quick, more than any martial arts exercise for sure.
I want to talk about that. I want to start with that. You and my boy Sean been getting it in, those spinning
Yeah,
back kicks, and I'm about to buy one of those beat up dummies that you guys are hitting because it looks like
the
so
bob.
much fun.
Oh, dude, it's you know what? It's really funny. Like for the longest time, I worked on a bag, just like a normal bag, like an Everlast bag, and it just wasn't doing it for me, man. It wasn't cutting it. I just didn't feel like I was kind of like following through with it or whatever. And then I would say about a year ago, my wife was like, "Hey, look at these things," and she found one on the internet. And I was like, I don't know, whatever. We'll go ahead and try it. And man, I would never go back after this. Absolute best thing that Century makes, man.
Yeah, you guys are like beating the piss out of that thing, and I'm seeing that you guys are knocking it over. And I got a funny story about a heavy bag. I was at a gym one time, and I think someone came in. Well, actually, I know someone came in that was definitely novice to like kickboxing and karate in general. So there was a big
Mhm.
heavy bag, and we know that all the things that are in a heavy bag settles at the bottom. So
Yeah.
hopefully, must have saw like a UFC fight and got motivated and came in and tried to kick the bottom of the bag. And I'm
Oh,
working the bag with punches. I'm like, homie, don't do it. Don't do it. And his leg literally snapped, brother. Like,
you know what? And it's so crazy that you say that, man. I've seen a lot of situations that are really similar to that, where they're starting. You get a new guy come in and he'll start working that bag and he'll start hitting the bottom of it, and he hits it about 2 or 3 times, and he's like out the door, man. He's like, I'm done.
no, you
So
can't hit the bottom of the bag, people. People that are
never.
listening, like hang the bag low. If it depends on what you're working on, what kind of technique. And I can't wait to talk to you about technique, man. Obviously, I've been watching a lot of your videos and doing a lot of research on you, dude. And you're a really awesome martial artist, very fast. How did you
Thank
get your
you.
start? You're welcome, brother. Thank you for coming on today. But how
Well,
did you get your start?
honestly, I used to live in Reno, Nevada. So when I was really young, I kind of moved up there with my mom. My parents went through a divorce, and I ended up just kind of getting into Taekwondo, man, really early on. Master Castillo's school of Taekwondo. Um, really just falling into it, man. I grew up with all, the 80s movies, kickboxer, blood sport. So I had that, going on in me. And it was just something that I felt as a kid that I really needed to do, man, to justify myself. And it was just something that I really, really felt like I needed to do. So, yeah, man, I fell into that, and then ended up getting my black belt in Taekwondo, and then found a Shotokan karate instructor in Reno. And I ended up getting taught under him for probably several years, man, until I was able to finally get to my fifth degree black belt. And then sadly, man, sadly, when I turned about 20, and I'm 40 now, so when I turned about 20, I kind of just gave it up, dude. Like I walked away from it. I don't know why. Kids happened, family happened, life happened. Um, and it was just crazy, man. Like a year ago, like maybe a little bit over a year ago, I just got the fire to start doing it again, man. And it was crazy. Like I came back better than I ever was before, and it's really interesting how, you can take almost 2 decades and not do something, and that muscle memory and all of that memory, man, it's packed in there, man. It's like riding a bike. So it surprisingly, man, I came back just 100 times better. And I really can't describe it, man. It was the repetitiveness and just going out there every day in the cold and, just whatever was out there, man, I was going up against it, and I think that was really one of the reasons why I am where I am today. So.
Dude, sometimes that break is the best thing you could do for yourself. And then, you come back and you embrace it and you appreciate it more. And as we get older, we get smarter. That's just what happens. And you're right. Combat sports is muscle memory. I'm a drummer. It's all about muscle memory. I've done like
Nice.
yourself, Taekwondo. Yeah. And I've done like a lot of things, Wisharoo, amateur boxing, all this type of stuff. I'm a
Wow.
big fan of combat sports. So when you come back, it's like riding a bike, just getting back on the bike. And you might get a little stumbly at first, but then
Sure.
it's like you get, just new passion, this energy, which
Absolutely.
is amazing. And combat sports are very, very addictive, man. You mentioned Taekwondo as one of your styles. What other style? I know you're multi, you got a lot of styles going on. What are some of your practitioners?
I'm like multifaceted, man. I did a lot of Savati kickboxing, which is French kickboxing. Like I said, did a lot of karate, kung fu, which I did for a number of years, which was really cool. Definitely different than, it's a hard style versus a soft style. You have the kung fu, which is, very soft and fluent. And then you have the hard style, Japanese styles, which are, really stiff, very hard. So I just really wanted to try to expand my horizons, man, try to learn whatever type of martial art I could and just kind of just throw it together, man. It's like the buffet line. You're in Vegas, man. You go to the buffet line and you pick and choose what you want. And sometimes we pick and choose things and we pick and choose the wrong things and we overlook those things and we come back and we're like, hey, this is pretty damn good, or whatever. That's how martial arts is to me, man. It's very much equated to that whole buffet style thing, and taking whatever in, and not to go against tradition because I'm all about tradition, but to kind of defy the norm, man, and to break free from tradition so that you can take in everything,
I agree with you. It's very similar to what I do with music as an instructor or just a musician when I record. It's like you want to embrace all styles. I tell people, don't just be a metal drummer. Don't just be a hard rock drummer. Don't just be a jazz drummer. Learn everything, And I was like that even with boxing. Like I was training fighters and I told them, I said, you know what? Now it's time for you to go see someone else. So like, but I really like you. I'm like, no, now you got to go and do this because this guy will clean up a lot of things better than I could clean it up. And I know that you have instructed before, correct?
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself from instruct. You better yourself from that.
What's crazy is it's funny that you say that because all the stuff that I learned when I was younger, and all that I took in and all the technique and all the degree, it's really different when you take somebody on, and you start teaching them and you start instructing them. You want to see the best. You want to give them the best of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's really interesting. It really gives you the opportunity to kind of look at yourself from outside in, and it's a totally different ball game teaching somebody, man. But it's so it's just it's a great thing, man. It's a really good experience to be able to give back. I'm all about giving back and, lived a pretty hard life when I was a kid and did whatever I want. So I think, it's definitely time to give a little bit back and, to instruct, man.
Well, that's the best part is that we work on our rudiments too. We fine tune and it's all about the foundation. Like, when I was teaching boxing, it's all about the jab. It's all about how to lean your head and, follow it up. And the more that you do that, the more you get stronger with yourself and you realize like, wow, I'm at the peak of my game because I'm doing this all the time. You mentioned, you mentioned some 80s and 90s martial arts films. I'm a junkie for these things. And especially during quarantine, I've been watching Best of the Best 1 and 2, my favorites. Oh, dude, so amazing, those movies. Steven Seagal been running back some of those, Marked for Death, Out for Justice.
Absolutely. And you know what's
hell
so
yeah,
funny,
dude. Anyone know why they did Bobby Lupo? That's like one of the greatest things ever. Goes in there, it busts up the bar. What are some of your favorite martial arts movies, man?
Honestly, man, I'm a big Chuck Norris fanatic. When I was growing up, dude, Chuck Norris was the man, dude. He just kind of had this way about himself, and he kind of just he got the job done. So really, really enjoyed watching movies like The Octagon, Breaker Breaker, things like that when I was really young. Just the old Chuck Norris movies, Eye for an Eye. And then Van Damme, dude, like who couldn't love Van Damme? Like growing up, like in the 80s, like how could you not look at that guy and be like, I want to be just like that guy. I want to kick like that guy and I want to move like that guy. Honestly, I would be a liar if I didn't say that he was such a huge inspiration in my life growing up, that he was probably one of the real reasons I ended up walking through those doors, man, because I just couldn't get enough of it. And I wanted to emulate that. And I wanted to do those things. They were miraculous to me. And let's face it, dude, in the 80s, martial arts was so mystical. It was such a mystery still. And, there wasn't the MMA and there wasn't any of that type of thing going on. So, any Joe Blow could come up and be like, hey, I'm a black belt, a 10th degree black belt in this style or whatever. And really nobody could question it. So to me, it was really interesting, how we look at martial arts today and as opposed to when we were growing up, because it was just a totally different ballgame.
Oh, it absolutely was. And it's great because it gives you discipline. When I started, it was around, the time period of like you were talking about with Van Damme and stuff like that. Those
Yeah.
movies were awesome, dude. Like Lionheart, Bloodsport,
Oh,
you know,
dude.
dude, all that kind of stuff was so great. And what was the one, Double Impact? It was like, never in my life would I ever wear black
Yeah.
underwear.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, again, dude, like I know that there's so many martial artists out there that kind of just, they'll say the same thing we're saying now, oh, I was watching Bloodsport and I saw that part where like, he busted the guy's elbow capsule. And it's just like, man, those were such cool movies, man, and they stick with you. It doesn't matter how old you get. The other
Yeah.
day, man, it was so funny. I made my wife watch Kickboxer, and she had never really watched Kickboxer before, dude. And it's like she was looking at me the whole time and just kind of smiling, and I was just like this child, dude, like wrapped up into it. And I was like Tong Po, and like this is badass. So it's just crazy, dude. I mean, it just sticks with you.
Tong Po wasn't fucking around when you saw him like kicking the wall,
Oh, dude,
like the pillar.
right?
Like
And his
he
face.
was, and Van Damme saw it. He knew his brother was in trouble, bro.
Oh, dude. Right. Dennis Alexio's like, I got this handled, man. I got this covered, and he goes in there and it's just over for him. So yeah, man, I mean, it's just crazy, dude. Like I really love those movies, man. And I think that they're super important for people to still enjoy and to still watch, and that spirit of martial arts, I think that's such an important thing, even more than, the physical part, just that essence that sticks with warriors, man, or sticks with artists that, it's just, I couldn't live my life if I couldn't go out tomorrow and start kicking. I couldn't live my life if I couldn't go out tomorrow and start punching and doing martial arts, because it's just ingrained in me and it's so much a part of me, man. I can't go a day, literally, I can't go a day without training because
It's an addiction.
I don't know.
It's an
Yeah.
addiction, and I remember real quick about films is that the best of the best one, and I'm a huge fan of this series, right?
Yeah.
Best of the best one comes out, and it's like a nice, like, I mean, it's got some like dark tones to it, but it's kind of like a
Sure.
lighthearted film. You go see
Right.
part 2, and now they're fighting in the underworld with Brackus, the Coliseum. You got Wayne Newton, and they're putting people in death matches, and you're like, I was like 14 years old and I saw this thing. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? We went from
Right.
mixed to death matches, but that's what made it cool, and it made you inspired because you saw the training and the dedication.
Yeah.
I love the choreography in that film. I think it holds up extremely well. Like Simon and Philip Ree are just they're incredible martial artists, man.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you, man. That movie was definitely something that sticks out in my mind too, whenever I think about that time period and, just about my beginning in martial arts and stuff. And I just, again, those movies they seem so ridiculous to people like my wife or to like my parents or something, but they're a part of me, man. And they're a part of the reason why, like, I'm having this conversation with you. They're a part of the reason why, like, Sean and I met up in practice. It's crazy, man.
It's funny because I get a lot of things, from my wife. We sit down, we watch movies, and I'm all about the cheddar cheese. I love the 80s and 90s martial arts films.
Yeah,
Some she'll get down with, some she'll like look at me very questionably, like, wow,
sure.
okay. But I mean, The Perfect Weapon, that's a good one. Jeff Speakman.
Oh God, man. Look at that name drop right there. There was a movie, man, that like stuck with me so hard. Like it's one of the reason I picked up sticks and started training with them, man.
The
Jeff
beginning
Speakman
scene,
was the bomb in that movie, right? Like he
it was
just kicked
amazing.
the crap out of everybody.
The beginning scene where you have, what was it, the song by Snap? I got the
Yeah.
power, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that
And that
shit
was rocking,
made you
dude. Like,
like, it stuck with you.
yeah, absolutely, man. And he's all working out. He's like just dripping sweat, dude. Yeah. See, I mean,
Like,
again, man, those movies are so important for people like you, like guys like you and I, man. It just without those movies, we would have never come this far, you know?
it's like, what is it, a random Tuesday or Wednesday night? He's just like nunchucking in his living room, listening to Snap.
Absolutely, right? Gets off his construction job, like, works all day long, bro, like 8 hours. And then he's laying concrete. He's like, I'm going to go home and just bust out like the fattest kata ever. So it's
I'm just
crazy,
gonna go
dude.
home and nunchuck. That's incredible, man. We had a lot of good ones. What was the one with Bruce Leroy? Show enough. That was a random one.
Oh
Last
God.
Dragon, right?
What was it again?
The Last Dragon, I think it was. What
The
was
Last Dragon. Yeah, yeah. Leroy.
Leroy? Show
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
And then they did the magic he had the magic at the end, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, they took this like next level. It's like so ridiculous, but it's amazing at the same time. That's the type of movie you
Yeah.
put on for your wife, and she looks at you and questions your decisions and where you're at mentally. But it's
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like when I watch Big Trouble in Little China and my wife goes,
great
"What are we
movie.
watching?" And I'm like, "How can you not enjoy this? This is just like the most amazing thing put on TV, man."
No, I agree, dude. And speaking about television, we've been doing a lot of things to pacify the time. I'm an OG Karate Kid guy, Cobra Kai guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was watching on YouTube Red from season 1, 2. Had
Oh,
to wait
yeah.
for season 3, and a lot of people are bitching and moaning that it's joined down on Netflix. And I'm like, you got to wait 3 months. I had to wait like 2 years, to get to
Absolutely.
season 3.
Absolutely.
What a great show. What are your thoughts on that show?
Man, honestly, I love it.
Yeah.
It's geared towards adults and kids at the same time. It's got everything in it. It kind of falls on every type of ordeal. Um, gives you a chance to kind of like look in on every single situation. The show is great, man. The producers that got together, it's like Sean says, I don't think anybody else could have done a better job putting that show together because it was just perfectly made, man. And I love the whole, the flip on, how Johnny was really the guy that got screwed over. To me, it's funny, and no offense to Ralph Macchio, but I just didn't like him in Karate Kid, man. And it's so funny when YouTube released this, I was like, finally, I was like, for the boys, for Johnny, like, and it's cool, man, because it gives you a different perspective. And I think a lot of people, when Karate Kid 1 came out, they looked at, Johnny, and they looked at those Cobra Kai kids and they were like, man, these guys are just bullies, horrible, just disgusting bullies. But it's crazy when, you take it from somebody else's mind frame, and
Perspective,
I
yeah.
loved it, man.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It's funny, like I saw a trailer, and at the time I was growing hemp on a hemp farm out here. Well, actually, I was in Pahrump, and which is great. We were, making CBD and all that kind of stuff. And I
Nice,
saw
nice.
yeah, hell yeah. I saw the trailer for this thing, Cobra Kai, and I was like, I don't know, man. It's gonna be another reboot type thing. Is it gonna be any good? And then I
Yeah,
watched the first episode, and I told my wife, and I was like, yo, you got to watch this. This is fucking really
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
It was
And
funny.
what's crazy, not to cut you off, is
No, you're good.
as opposed to all those other like 80s movies we were talking about, when it first came on YouTube, I actually sat there and I watched it with my wife, and she was just as hooked as I was. It's just such a good show, man, and it's got just this way of just pulling you in.
My stepdaughter comes in the room. She's 11, going on 12 in a month, and she loves it. Some of the, pieces are a little dicey sometimes, but I'm like,
Sure.
I ask her mom, I said, is this okay? She's like, yeah, We approve it. So I'm like, okay, it's funny as hell. It's got
Yeah.
great action sequences. It gives you enough of that 80s, 90s nostalgia, but also brings in a lot of new, which I think is great.
Right.
And that's what we need now. We need more films like the ones we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because those films empowered people. You know, it's like with Cobra Kai now. How many kids are super empowered by this? Watching these kids, you know, that are coming from these like, you know, screwed up backgrounds, and they're able to just, you know, harness this ability and to take it in and to like defend themselves. And it changes you, bro. It's like a literal change, you know? So, I mean, it's so good in so many different ways. And I think for the youth, especially, it's important to watch it, man. And it's important to see, you know, that perspective and to see what they have for you, because I mean, again, I'm just blown over by that show, dude. Like, I can't wait to watch the next season, man. I'm like,
man,
wow.
I can't wait. Season 3 was awesome. The shit they did with Kreese, with the snake.
Oh God.
I was like blown away. Let me tell you a funny story about like how my wife sometimes will not like me. Okay. So what happened was she was asleep, and Cobra Kai season 2 debuted on YouTube Red. This goes back a couple of years, and it happened at midnight. So I waited up for it. I'm like, I'm gonna watch 1 or 2 episodes. She's like, no, you're gonna watch them all. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And I go to bed and she's sleeping, and I'm like poking her. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, babe, you have no idea how juicy this is. This is fucking amazing.
It's so good.
It's so good. And she's like, really, dude, you're doing this now? Like, she was so mad at me. I don't blame her. And I told her I wouldn't do it. She's like, just whatever you do, I don't care how late you stay up, just don't wake me up.
Right. Yeah, no, it's that good though, man. It's that like life changing, and it really is. And it goes back to what you were saying. We need those types of shows and those types of movies, man. Those ones that put a fire in your ass, man, and get you up and motivates you and pushes you to go and do the things that you weren't willing to do the day before, you know?
I could not agree more. And you guys are definitely pushing yourself. You and Sean, you're out there like training like Rocky IV style, like training models.
Right? I mean, no, it was so funny, man. Like, I kept looking at Sean. I'm like, when's your wife going to come here? It's going to be like when Adrian comes to Russia. You're going to have to grow a beard and everything, man. I'm like,
absolutely. Speaking of movies, what are some of your favorite movies of all time, like just in any genre?
You know what's funny, man, is I saw a couple of your posts, and I'm an absolute fanatic for mob movies. I love them, man. I can't get enough of them. Goodfellas, Casino, just anything that I could get my hands on, man. I love that whole persona, you know, that whole just that lifestyle that they lived. And it's just so interesting to see how organized crime was, and how it kind of endured during the 70s into the 80s, and I guess even now, you know what I'm saying? So I just love stuff like that, you know, especially the historically accurate stuff, you know, anything with Al Capone, Lucky Luciano, any of that stuff, man. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. I'm hooked. So
you ever watch Boardwalk Empire?
Oh, dude, that's got to be one of, it was so good. And it's so funny. Like, I watched The Sopranos religiously. Like, I loved that show. It was such a good show, man. And I thought that it couldn't get more real than that, you know? And I thought that, you know, after it went away, I was like, man, they're never going to make anything that's equal to this. And Boardwalk was so good, bro, but it was so good in a different way. And it was just like, it was literally like a gift to me watching it. And it took place in that 30s, the 20 and 30s era, you know, Atlantic City, Chicago, New York. And that's when that stuff was really prevalent, man. And that's when, you know, you had all the booze and everything. Dude, I just love that stuff. I love reading about history, especially mob history. It's just great, man. It's really interesting stuff.
The casting on that show, the writing, you know, Terry Winter had a lot to do with that, and The Sopranos as well. And just well done. Steve Buscemi's acting, and Bobby Cannavale in season 3, Chipper City. Like,
man,
good, you know. Quotables.
I don't remember the guy. What was the guy with the mask, bro?
Oh, he was amazing.
Yep. Oh, dude. So in my opinion, like, he first came into the show and I was like, hey, he's pretty cool. But man, he won it for me. Like he was probably one of my favorite people in that whole show, dude. Just calm and quiet. And when he needed to be a badass, he was a badass, you know?
He was like the Darth Vader, bro. He'd go in there and just assassinate.
Absolutely.
Remember when he went into the strip club, infiltrated the strip club with the
Yep.
rifle and just went nuts and just like murdered everyone? Like,
and then just walked out like he was never there, bro.
Amazing swag on that character, you know. And I agree with you. Sopranos is definitely one of my favorite shows of all time. I had the opportunity and to be friends with number one Steve Sharippa, but also interview him on the show, Bobby Bacala.
Wow.
He's what a we talk about great guys. What a great guy. Like he's just a down to earth dude, you know. Talk to you about anything. And I want to talk to you about everything. So I got more for you. Is music. Sure. What kind of music do you like, brother?
So I grew up, man, listening to a lot of metal. Loved my Megadeth, loved my Iron Maiden, loved and I still listen to them, man. You know, old school Metallica, Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All. And you know what, I love a lot of classic rock too, man. Zeppelin, Foreigner, you know, just Chicago, like anything, man. I guess you'd say I'm kind of a melting pot when it comes to music. I have so much appreciation for so many different genres that I couldn't really just put it on one. You know what I'm saying?
That's how it should be, man. You know, I encourage everyone to listen to everything. I love hip hop, reggae, metal, jazz, funk, punk, all that kind of stuff. And you mentioned Zeppelin. I got a tattoo here. This is "Fool in the Rain" by Led Zeppelin. You know, John Bottom was my guy, bro. Like,
dude,
his drumming, especially because they had to do it naturally. There was no like digital shit. They had to go analog. They had to just do it, you know.
And they created some of the most memorable music in rock and roll history, dude. I mean, it was just so good, dude. Like, even today, you know, and you know, it's funny. Like on the radio, they must have played that crap out 100 billion times, and it's still like, you know, all these years later, man, it's like I listen to that music, dude, and I get lost in it, you know. And it's so cool. Like Pink Floyd too. Like I adore Pink Floyd, dude. Like in 80s Pink Floyd, I don't know why, man. I really like 80s Pink Floyd when they came out with the synthesizers, and you know, it was just so epic, dude. Like talk about a band that like their light shows, man. Like when you see like old footage, it's like, wow, like talk about a band that was just so freaking epic, man, that they were able to just reach anybody, you know?
I agree with you. I mean, the 80s period, especially for Pink Floyd, Rush as well. I love the synthesizer work they did there, and it holds up. And we talk about like going to see a stage show, you know, you have Pink Floyd, Rush, Tool. I went and saw Tool.
Oh God.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Tool a number of times, but Maynard kills it, bro.
Just Tool's such a good band, man. And then Perfect Circle was amazing.
Anything
that guy gets his hands on, Pucifer, I mean, anything that he's done, man, is just, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's melodic, and it's got feeling, you know? And I feel like maybe it's just me, but there's a lot of music, man, that's kind of like swimming out there. That's just, it doesn't have that feel, you know, it doesn't have that touch, and it doesn't make the hairs on my arm stand up, you know?
Well, I feel you. It's all about getting those goosebumps, right? Like, I mean, the first time I heard, like you mentioned Iron Maiden, I was a big fan, Motley Crue.
Oh, dude.
Zeppelin. You know, the first time you hear like some kind of these crazy epic songs, especially with Tool, Dream Theater at one point when I started listening to them.
Man, now you're name dropping. Dream Theater is like one of my favorite bands, dude. So that's really cool, man.
Dude, fucking when I saw them, like I mean, first of all, I got into them early 2000s, and you know, me and my buddy, we do a lot of their covers and mess around and stuff like that.
And shit. Not to cut you off, but that must be crazy doing some of those drum solos, man. Like they are really technical in their music. So,
dude, Mike Portnoy, and now we got Mangini playing drums, but Mike Portnoy, definitely one of the most fluid prog drummers in my opinion. Time, like he's got groove. Like it's hard to be a prog guy because I'm in a prog band, so it's kind of hard to be like smooth. And so I understand that, and I love Mike's influence. And I saw him play in 2000, I think 2. My ex-girlfriend girl I was dating at the time surprised me with some tickets. Went to BB King's, only 700 people in attendance, and they kicked ass. They did 2112 by Rush, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
And then they had a train wreck on stage. They had to restart a song, and I was so happy about it. They were so apologetic, but I was like, they're human beings. Like, it's like in Rocky IV when he's like, he's cut. You see, he's not a machine. He's a man.
Yep.
I was like,
absolutely,
okay,
man.
fucking A. Because when you look at people like on this level, because they're amazing musicians, when you look at people at that level, it's like you think they're perfect, but you know, shit happens. But they were great. I've seen them many times live, and I still enjoy their music.
It's funny that you talk about perfect, because a conversation that Sean had a couple weeks back with me is practicing like a conscious perfection. So kind of like, you know, instead of like, you know, waking up in the morning and just simply going for your coffee and just doing the things you do, it's the act of perfection in every single avenue of your life. So it's kind of just being, so it's just being conscious. You know, there's so many people walking around and they're out in the sunshine and the blue skies and the trees. And, you know, these are things that we take for granted. So many things in life that we just kind of overlook and we just kind of just don't think about. And one thing that I've kind of employed into my martial arts is being consciously perfect. Even though we're never going to be perfect, it's the journey. It's about trying to get there, you know. And I know with me, man, like I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm going to try as hard as I can to get to that point. And I'm going to go ahead and live my life in such a way that I'm conscious of every single move that I make, even in the things that I say or the things that I do. Like I said, it seems so simple, and why would you look into something like this? But practicing that perfection, man, practicing that conscious perfection is so good for us, man. And it makes us realize like why we're here, you know, and it kind of gives us this reflection. And me, I mean, I was totally just living my life and not being consciously perfect, dude, not thinking about anything, just kind of like floating through life, you know, and just kind of just waiting for it to surface. And again, man, it's so important that we collectively understand that in everything that we do, we should try to do it perfectly. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You got to set your goals, and it's better to overachieve than it is to underachieve. And that's a great philosophy.
Absolutely.
What you were saying right there, you got to have an agenda and you know, working at perfect. That's really what it is. And if you set the bar high, maybe you don't get all the way to the bar, but you get somewhere, you know, close to that mark that you want to achieve. Yeah,
sure. And that's what I tell like a lot of my students, man, is it's always just about the journey. It's never about the ending.
Yes,
it's never about the beginning. It's always about the journey, and it's always about the things that you have to go through to get to that point. And again, you and I know as martial artists, as you know, you're a musician too, you're never going to reach that perfection.
No.
But consciously trying to work in that perfection into your life is just going to make you an all-around better person in the end, man. It's going to make you a better martial artist. It's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a better person collectively in every single thing that you do. So it's just really important that, you know, people grasp that and that they understand that. Like, for example, I love Japanese culture. They're a perfect example of a person that gets up and literally lives their life collectively being perfect in everything that they do, the way that they pour their tea or the way that they open a door, the way that they kneel down, everything is done in this very collective manner. And it's so important that as people, we try to understand why, you know, and it's like, it's life-changing when you start being collectively conscious.
I tell you what, my wife is Japanese, and I have a tendency when we go walk the dog in the morning, my beautiful Chihuahua, and it's National Pet Day, so everyone embrace your pet and love them.
Sure.
So I drag my feet because I go out with slippers on. I'm in my pajamas still, whatever, and it drives her crazy. And she's like, my mom would be so mad at you.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But it's like, but I love the customs, and I've always played up to the Asian culture, in particular Japanese, the art, just the beautifulness of serenity. I mean, it's like, it's got so
Sure.
much, you know, I'm a Buddhist, you know, so I like that stuff. Like you were talking
Very
about,
cool.
stop and
Very
smell
cool.
the roses. Like
Yeah.
nowadays, man, like I open my window, I stare at a tree for 5 minutes. People probably think I'm crazy or on acid or something. I don't give a shit.
Right. And
I like the
and
tree. It's fucking cool.
it's so important that we take that beauty in, man, and that we relish in it and that we understand it, because we have such a short time on this planet and on this earth, and it's the things that we do while we're here that matter the most.
Absolutely,
It's like
absolutely.
you can live your life and not contribute anything and be forgotten, or you can be like Achilles and you can contribute everything and you'll be remembered forever. And that's kind of one of the things that I want to do personally or independently as a human being is, again, going back to the Achilles complex, you can stay here and you can live to be very old and you'll have kids and you'll be fat and happy and you'll die at an old age, or you can go after glory and you'll die early, but you'll have this glory. And it's just like, man, that's that warrior persona, man. And
Yes,
it's like,
sir.
it's going after, it's taking the bull by the horns, man. And it's so important that people need, they need to understand that it's not going to just happen for us. It's something that you have to actively go out and do. Like I told Sean, while he was here, it gets super cold up here, man. Like so cold that like it feels like your fingers are gonna fall off. And there were so many times where I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like, do I really want to go outside? And do I want to hit Bob, or do I want to practice, or do I want to go out in the snow? And it was that constant, just me going, you're gonna do it, and you're gonna push yourself. You're gonna see just how amazing you are. You're going to push yourself to the extent, and you're going to show yourself how capable you are. um, that's important, man. That's really important for every single person to understand that we have this inner power. And once you grasp it and you focus, man, nothing is impossible.
I agree with you 100%. It's all about getting there, you know. I mean, back in the day, my journey with combat sports, like I mentioned, Taekwondo was a start. And I
Yeah.
had to go to Newark, New Jersey to learn how to box because I love boxing. And
Yeah.
it was not easy because the area I was in, it was tough. Like I actually had heavyweight fighters wait for me
Wow.
to leave the gym with them for protection. I'm like, you understand, at the
Wow.
time I was 140 pounds. You know,
Yeah.
like, what the hell am I gonna? If anything, I'm gonna look for you because the area was so
Sure.
bad. There was a high crime rate. But what I love about martial arts in general, like combat sports, is there's so much respect. Like,
Oh yeah.
once you're in there, people see that you're trying. That's why I never call a fighter a bum or anything like that. Speaking of combat sports, we got a UFC tonight. We got what I call a Mortal Kombat mirror match in boxing tonight. Okay.
Ooh.
Miguel Burchell, Oscar Valdez on ESPN. I'm not getting paid by ESPN, but I'm going to plug this thing. I'm not getting paid by ESPN. But the thing is, this is the type of fight where it's like I call a Mortal Kombat mirror match. It's guaranteed war. And hopefully I don't have to eat crow on this, but this should be a good one, buddy. What are you doing tonight, man? What's your plans for the rest of your day?
You know what, man? I honestly don't really have many plans. I think I'm just going to kind of sit back and have some tea and, again, just kind of appreciate being here, man. Maybe put some TV on and watch a movie and be with the family, man. Just kind of take a rest. Today's actually the first day for like weeks that I haven't practiced martial arts. So I'm kind of relishing in it, and it feels nice, man, to kind of walk away. And one big mistake that I make is I never take that time away from it. And it's so important for a martial artist to understand that you can get in a rut. You can literally work your ass off every single day, as hard as possible, and you'll still be in this rut. You know what I'm saying? And so, what's really interesting is somebody kind of pointed out to me, why don't you try to go, shoot some hoops, go ride a bike, just do something completely different, man, to take your mind away from it. Because it's when, as warriors and as martial artists, man, we're always thinking about this stuff. It's so ingrained in us that it's so hard to kind of shake. And it's like I literally had to walk away and do other activities. And when I did that, I came back and the rut was gone. So again, it's important to practice daily, and it's important to get in there. But those ruts, those are the times where you need to walk away and kind of give yourself a day or two to kind of reconstruct, and take it in. So
I could not agree with you more. Like I took up golfing, right? And I've
yeah,
been a boxer and a baseball player and a martial artist
sure.
like my whole life. So what do I naturally do when I get to the golf course? I'm like trying to
Yeah.
send that shit to fucking
Happy
Jupiter.
Gilmore.
And everyone's like, yo, you're all types of wrong. First of all, you got no sleeves on, you're on a golf course. I'm like, okay, all right, let's talk about that. I had no idea. My buddy hits me up randomly. He's like, you want to go golfing? I'm like, shit, why not? You know?
Sure.
And so we go out there, and I like it being outdoors, and it's pretty and shit. And like we were talking about appreciation for like trees and nature and whatnot. So we go out there, and I am all types of wrong. I have people coming up to me, and they're very nice. They're older people, like they've been
Mhm.
probably golfing their whole life. They're like, "Hey, man, everything you're doing is just wrong,
It's just
and
wrong. Yeah.
just wrong." So I have a buddy of mine that helped me, and get a little bit better, but I'm still not good, bro. Because I just when you do combat sports, you want to be fluid, like Bruce Lee style, like water. But there's
Right.
also like a combination. Like when I play drums, there's dynamics. I go soft, you go
Sure.
hard, or you stay in between. Golfing, I just know only one. Like it's like I
It's just
can't do
one
it myself.
pace. Yeah.
I'm just like
But
bang.
what's really, really interesting about that is I'd be willing to bet that golfing will even fix some of your martial arts game. You know what I'm saying?
Of
Just going
course.
out there and kind of practicing something different. I mean, with the way that it's very slow and it's very mellow and it's just very one paced. Um, Things like that are really good for the mind and the body, man. It's taking those things in. It's kind of like it makes me think of the Karate Kid, waxing on and waxing off.
Mhm.
Painting the fence, and there are things that we do in life, man, that can be very, very beneficial to our martial arts, and we don't even know it.
Oh, dude, there's no doubt about it. I told people all the time, hand-eye coordination, confidence, and even with the drums, which is very hand-eye coordinated, is that I would tell my students' parents, like, this will help them in all avenues of life, keep their mind sharp. I actually had a parent tell me one time, my kid is playing baseball this year and he's knocking them out of the park left and right. I'm like, it's probably because of the drums, because you need
Yeah,
precision,
yeah,
you need
yeah,
focus.
absolutely.
And I want to ask you, and it's funny you brought this up because this is where I want to close with you, brother. If I could talk to you for like hours, man, you're like a
Yeah,
brother
for
from a
sure,
different
dude.
mother. But
Yeah,
martial arts benefits. Let's talk about what it could be like for kids, or it's never too late to adults. You could still go out there and throw kicks and get chicks. Like you
absolutely.
could do
Right,
all this
right.
stuff. It's never too late. So, as a teacher of the practitioner of martial arts and an instructor, um, just let people know the benefits of this because it's really amazing. The benefits.
I would say for me, number one, it's the mental thing for me. That's most important to me. That mental faucet of kind of just putting yourself through the duress and putting the challenge. Making yourself go through something that you constantly are telling yourself, no, I can't do. It's the mind fighting the body constantly. No, you can't. No, you can't. Um, and it's so important because it just gives you this evolution and it gives you this ego, but not in a bad way, in a good way. It makes you realize that you're so much more complete. You know what I'm saying? And you're so much more focused. I would say, honestly, the martial arts saved my life, man. I mean, it really did. It took me away from a very bad place, a negative place, being around negative people, growing up in negative areas. Um, and it saves your life, man. It really starts to make you think, man. And it's not just the movement, and it's not just the kicking and the punching. It's the idea. It's just the idea. For me, it's martial arts to me is self-expression completely, and period. That's all it is, man. It's I could teach you how to do something for 10 years and you might closely resemble what I'm doing 70% of the time, but you're still going to have that little independent feel to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just so good, man, for so many different reasons. I know for adolescents, for kids, I mean, it gives them this drive. It gives them this focus, man. It makes them feel good when they go and they achieve something. achievements are so important in life, man, to achieve, to push yourself, to motivate yourself. Those are all things that I think a human being really needs to actually live. You know what I'm saying? And without those things, we become, like I was talking about before, just kind of like just floating through life, man, just kind of just like a bag in the wind, no care here, no care there. And the martial arts kind of takes you away from that, man. It opens you up, and it gives you more ideas, and it gives you a better understanding, and a spiritual understanding too. I mean, I can honestly tell you, spiritually, like, again, the martial arts saved my life. It's just, there's so many things I could say that it would do positive, and I still couldn't even hit the nail on the head. That's just how good it is. And I think that that's really important too, with like Cobra Kai and stuff, man. Getting these kids to understand that there's a way to better yourself that's outside of the norm. There's a way to better yourself that's outside of the social thing that's going on in everybody's life. And it makes you a better person. It enables you to understand that you're better, that you can do more, and I think it's important, man. It's just so important to have that drive and that focus. So
I think it's so well said, and it does save a lot of people's lives. It gets them off the street. It gets out, relinquish anger, and then you understand that the anger could become focus, and there's brotherhood, and then you're hanging
absolutely.
out with so many people from different cultures, that's what I love about combat sports. It's like for everybody, and you understand
the camaraderie,
respect.
And the camaraderie, it's one of my favorite things. Somebody there to constantly try to push you while you push them. Somebody like a partner, like somebody that's just there to, like, while you're doing it, they're doing it, and you're pushing each other back and forth. And the best thing in the world is when two men can come together and push themselves to be excellent in every single way. There's nothing better. And this happens in martial arts all the time with, MMA or traditional martial arts. It's when you can go there and you can have that camaraderie, and they're like, look, you can do this. Sometimes you need somebody to tell you something, even though you know it, even though you understand it, and it's part of you. You need to hear it vocally, and you need to see it. It needs to be in action. So again, man, that camaraderie is such a big part of it too. I mean, you make a better friend in a martial arts school than you ever would just going to a normal school, or at least in my personal experience, it's been that way. So,
oh, hell yeah. You hug it out. Like, I sparred people or fought people in amateur ranks or trained people that, you always give respect afterwards, man. It's a discipline, and it's tough. Like, the first time I ever got hit was by a trainer, and it made me emotional. Like, I was like, but then it trains your brain, and you understand, like, okay, this is a contact sport. This is a combat sport,
Right. And it gives those emotions a drive, man. It like puts those emotions into perspective, dude.
Yeah. So when you did that back spin kick on Sean that I saw with the water bottle, how do you find that accuracy, man? That's a remarkable thing.
You know what? It's crazy. I always kind of like relate this to baseball, and I think a lot of people, they kind of look at me strange when I do this, but I grew up playing a lot of baseball, and I come from a baseball family. My little brother actually works for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he was almost a pro baseball player himself. So had a lot of baseball in my family. And I guess when I was talking to Sean and he was asking me that same question, it's like keeping your eye on the ball. It's kind of like, it's like you see it in your mind, and it's kind of like it's not something I can really explain, but it's something that you envision. You have to envision yourself doing it. First of all, you have to see yourself doing the kick. You have to it's not even about seeing yourself doing it. You have to know you can do it. And it's crazy, man. I couldn't honestly tell you how I'm able to do it, but I'm able to do it so perfectly that I never miss my mark. And I guess it's the repetitive motion that I was talking about, and collectively living to try to be perfect. That's probably where I got that from, man. It's just that, like I said, just pushing myself to be the best me that I can be. So
that's absolutely incredible. I know what you're talking about. Like, I have a lot of people that ask me things about drums or whatever, and I know I put the practice in, and sometimes you realize how much practicing you've done when you have to execute a move, right? And then you're
Sure.
like, wow, it's like this really fucking paid off. Like all the things I've ever done to get to this point. And you know, I think it's crazy what you guys are doing, but a great crazy, because you
Yeah.
guys are out
Yeah.
there in the cold and you know, kicking ass, man. You're putting the work in, and it's very motivational for people to see this, because
Sure.
these are trying times, man. People are messed up. They're losing their will, their
Yeah.
faith in things, and things like you guys are doing, just training, getting and you know, out there and working on spin kicks. Like, so I recommend anyone that's listening, please take up a martial art, be
Yeah.
responsible, don't go in too hard, don't kick a heavy bag low,
At the bottom.
don't do that.
No.
Don't do it. Don't hit it low. Don't kick it low, because you're gonna get messed up. But Adam, brother, this was awesome. How do we find you? Social media. Tell us about you know, all the things that you got out there on social.
You know what? You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. I, for the longest time, was doing Facebook stuff. I'm kind of new to the whole technology game, so I started expanding, and Sean helped me open a Twitter account and stuff like that. So I think that would be the best way to be able to reach me, man. Is watching the Facebook, or watching the Instagram, and for anybody listening out there, totally feel free to ask me questions and to pick my brain. That's what I love the most about martial arts, man, is I love talking about it. I love being able to give back, and to give somebody a better understanding potentially on how to do something. So yeah, man, that would probably be the best way that you could definitely reach me. So
That's what I love about when I talk to boxers. I interview boxers, martial artists. I had Don the Dragon Wilson on the show recently.
oh
Wow, wow,
yeah,
and what a super intelligent guy. One of my childhood heroes.
sure,
And what I love about it is that everyone's so humble, because again,
yeah,
guys, it's a discipline. You know, if you ever meet an arrogant fighter, you know, or someone that, you know, they haven't really studied, they haven't really got good tutelage, because the real fighters will know how to fight, but also know
yeah,
how to be real and cool and humble.
right,
You know, I
right.
mean, look, like I said before, man, like, you know, after a boxing match or an MMA fight, you bring it in, man. All the shit talking, that's to promote fights, guys. That's to
Sure,
sell
sure.
tickets. But
And
anytime I've ever
afterwards,
gotten
some
a
of
ring
these,
with someone, yep, it's
sure.
all
And,
about
and
respect.
what's funny about that is a lot of the guys that I ended up going against in the past, tournament fighting or whatever type of fighting, those guys became my best friends. You go to
Yes.
you fisticuffs, man, and then these guys become like your loyal best friends. So it's crazy.
Look at Mickey Ward or Turo Gotti after the first fight. Mickey Ward, I'm sorry, I think it was the third fight, is that he hands Mickey Ward a bottle of water. Like,
Yeah,
he's drinking his water and then he hands him. That's a gesture, and that was real. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I've been there before. Like, I've got my ass beat by people, you know,
yep,
and we're cool. Like, we're stable mates. We're at the gym. It's just, it's
right,
common practice. Like, you have to accept it. You have to know what you're getting into, but also not take it personally. You know, like, it's just is what it
absolutely,
is. You know, and
absolutely.
dude, I met people at the gym at one time. Like, I fought this one kid, kicked my ass, and I was like, and he's ripped. And I'm like, what's your diet, man? And he was so poor. He's like, yodels and milk. Like,
Wow.
yodels, like cakes and milk. He's like, that's all we got at the house. That's all I eat. That's how I keep sharp. That's all. That's the only nutrition he got. So can you imagine if he actually had a proper diet and
Yeah,
had the means? Like,
yeah,
he'd probably be a fucking world champion. Like, and
absolutely. And
I'm
and
not saying I
it's
was much, but he handed my ass to me, bro. I got school. I got taken to school, but
but
it is what it is.
that
But
guy, that guy, that guy's feeling it spiritually and mentally and physically, and he's focusing even without that ability to have those vitamins and those nutrients. And those are those true fighters, man. Those are those guys that live, eat, breathe, sleep martial arts, and that's just that's right up my alley, man. So
it's hardcore. It's a fight, and life is a fight, and we're all fighting through it, and we're all keeping positive. That's the most important thing. And Adam, you know, this was a great, great time. What a hell of a
yeah, man.
time. I appreciate you so much for jumping on today, and everything that you're
Sure.
doing
Thank you.
for people and martial arts, because that is the way. That's
Yeah.
totally the way to go, brother.